I just want to invest in people that really want to be the best that they can be. Hello, everyone. It's Todd Scrima and Robyn LaVassaur and Jim Reed, and we are doing a Be Your Best podcast for loan officers today, and I'm pretty excited about this topic. I'll tell you a quick lead-in story. I remember meeting with my executives. We meet every morning for 15 minutes, and it was June of 2020, and our pipeline just eclipsed $1 billion in locks. And I was like, whoa, okay, what's going on here? So I said, hey, guys, I don't know how long this is going to last, but it's going to be the best market we've ever seen. And whatever comes after this is going to be a doo-doo show.
Yeah.
And so here we are in the doo-doo show. I talked to one of my great producers that I used to coach for years, and he just happened to call me yesterday to say hi. And I said, well, how are things going? He says, overall pretty good. I'm in shape. I stopped drinking, all this stuff. And I said, that's all good. This guy, 50, 60 loans a month, every single month, month in, month out. I said, well, how's production? He says, you know what? I feel blessed, but it's down from averaging 52 loans a month to 16 a month the last 6 months. And, he's bilingual, got a builder account. I mean, this guy is slamming. He is really good. One of the best producers I ever coached. So that, sums up the difficult. So in about a year ago, I started thinking, okay, what are the strategies that we got to do to get through this? I hired 2 coaches, and one of my coaches said something very, very simple and very telling. He says, Todd, there's only 5 ways to get clients. So let's focus on what we're doing in those 5 areas and really get good at them. So you may want to write this down if you're not driving.
I'm ready. I haven't heard this yet, dude. What's the deal with that?
So one is, and this is for all businesses, but it really, of course, applies to what we do as loan officers. One is reach out to people privately. So that'd be like 2 hours per hour a day. That's that one, right? People people you don't know, cold calling. That's that one. Okay. Number 2 is create content that attracts people to you.
It's like collateral. Like collateral.
Collateral, but also you got to find some way to get that out there, right? So we'll
like
talk about
proprietary content, like a plan, something like that.
Yeah. Number 3 is run paid ads. So I just spoke to a good realtor friend of mine. She closed 111 deals last year, and 80% of them came from Zillow. So some of those things do work contrary to popular belief. And FYI, the number 1 mortgage lender in the nation for years was a online lender. So number 3, private mortgage bankers don't like to think this works. It does work. Okay. Sure. You just don't know how to do it. Okay. Number 4 is find affiliates or partners that refer you business. So that would be realtors for most of us. Realtors, builders, financial planners, divorce attorneys, right? There's a business people that send you business. And then number 5, customers tell other customers. Customers telling other customers. So what this coach said, he says, Todd, I literally want you to draw a picture of what your process is for all 5 of those things. That was the assignment. Well, I could do number 1, reach out to people privately. We've been doing that for years and years. I could do number 4, which is what we do for realtors, right? And I could do number 5, which is, hey, we database to our clients once a month. We text them once a month, right? That plan. But when I got to 2 and 3, I was like, I have nothing. Now, this guy's pretty direct, and I was paying him a bunch of money. He looks at me and says, well, that's stupid. I said, well, I've always been the mindset that stuff doesn't work. He says, well, okay, let me educate you. And then he gave me all these examples. One of the examples was a doctor who advertises online for super obese people, bringing in $350,000 a month in fees by teaching obese people how to lose weight. I thought he was joking, so I thought he was fibbing. So I got the guy's phone number. I called him. I said, hey, do you guys really use this guy? Are you really doing this? Yep. Right? Now, he did say it took me 6 months to learn this stuff, but I figured it out. Okay. we all hear about YouTubers making $2 million a year on YouTube and stuff like
So
that.
is that
That's
like
all that stuff.
so for a
Huh?
loan, or you're talking about like consumer direct?
Could be consumer direct. I don't want to get too. Let's delve into each one of these things.
Okay, okay.
But
I'll be
but I would challenge the listener to say, okay, number one, reach out to people privately. Oh yeah, I do that. Any private mortgage banker would say that. I do that. Show me your written process. What do you literally do every single day? What is your standard every single day, every single week, every single month to show me what the 5 steps are or the 7 steps? Like it can't be 15 steps, right? What are the 5 sacred things you do every day, every week on number one? And put it in a flow chart, put it in a picture.
Huh.
Now, most people would say, like, Robyn, when you ask a loan officer, hey, what is your call plan? A, do they have one? And B, do they follow it? Two
Uh,
questions.
I would say 90% of the time they don't have a real plan. I think what people don't understand is a plan in your head is not a plan, right? It's a written plan and process. I think a lot of people think a plan is, yeah, I've got a plan. I've got a list or those kind of things, but it's not all put together, whether it's the calendar, the list, the preparedness, the topic, if you will, the goal and outcome of what they want out of each call. I think that's a big miss. Often they're calling, but the call's not, it's a wandering call, if you will, right? It's a drifted call because there's not really a plan attached. So no is the answer. If you really get, a lot of people go, oh, I know who to call, and I dial. That's still not a plan, right? That's one portion of the overall execution. So no, and then the other part is, are they actually doing it? I think that is it with. I think most of the time the answer is no. Most of the time, I would say 70% are not doing it, and 30% are.
So I just want to get this right. If I was their coach, like this coach told me and said, show me your non-negotiables, show me your written process. What is your 5-step plan for number one, which is reaching out to people privately? And they got only one box that they could fill out that says, I make 10 outbound calls every morning. But yet even there's only one step to their plan and they don't even do it.
Well,
Now, I was talking to someone recently, and he was telling me he was all excited. He had been coaching for a year for some coach. I forgot his name, but he coaches to some NFL teams and Alabama football team and some other famous people. And I said, well, what's the number one thing he taught you? And he says, Todd, the number one thing he taught me is what is your standard every day? In other words, what are your I call them non-negotiables. What are your non-negotiables? So for example, non-negotiable for me is if there's a day, I weigh myself every day. If I weigh over 190 pounds, that means work out every single day and no sugar. Those are my two go-tos, right? Until then I get down to 186, I can have some sugar, have a beer, but up to then, right, that's a non-negotiable, right? So I think anyone who achieves in an area, they have those standards or those non-negotiables. And that's really what we're talking about here in sales, is not just what are the 5 ways to get business. Not that you should do all 5. So I don't want people to hear that. I mean, you could make 500 grand a year doing 2 of them, right? Like I made 5, 6, 800 grand a year as a loan officer. I only did 2 of those things. I never database to anybody. My first 10 years as a loan officer, I never sent out one piece of mail. Never. I thought it was a waste of time. The first time I did it, I got 3 loans closed from it, so I started doing it. But you can be very successful if you just take 1 or 2 of these things and do them super consistently and super big. I don't know how many people could do all 5, but
let me ask you a quick question because something's burning in my head. Because I coach I coach 200 loan officers, and my question for you, buddy, is this, because I've known you a long time, and Robyn also, honestly, it just popped up to me while you guys were talking. How does a person adjust their commitment level? Because if I dummy it down, for me, it's like, hey, have it in writing, know what to say, and then somehow adjust your commitment level. You've called it non-negotiable, right? But do you have a tactic? And maybe you guys don't, because it just hit me when you said it. How does a person adjust their commitment level? What's like a trick? Like, what do you tie it to? Like, I mean, if we could figure this out, we could be.
I don't. Yeah. So I don't know if
what I'm asking.
Yeah. No. This is a great question. It's a great question. I got two comments. One is I think that people don't make sales calls because they don't believe they add any value, and usually they're right. So you have to become more of value. So just as a way of saying that, if I called Robyn and I was a loan officer and I had three ways to get her another 100 grand a year in commissions, and I worked like I really did it, not with a bunch of agents, just like five, and I said, Robyn, my name's Todd Scrima. I work for Summit Funding, and I know you've been in this business a long time. I feel silly because I've never met you, but I would like a 15-minute meeting with you because I specialize in making five realtors that I work with another $100,000 a year in commissions. I become part of your sales team. I would like 15 minutes either Wednesday at 3 o'clock or Friday at 3 o'clock to show you how I do this. If I really had three things that I did, then I would feel confident and I wouldn't struggle to make that call. So that's one thought on what you just said. The second one is, and I say this a lot, but I don't know if they don't understand it or if their brain doesn't work that way. What I always did is I tied my 2 hours of sales calls every morning to building net worth, to putting my kids through college, to feeling successful, to I tied it to long-term goals. I took my daily things that I was doing, and for me, I always thought of, well, this is really hard, but hey, when I make these 2 hours of calls and I get 3 or 4 appointments, and I'll pick up another person that's going to refer me business, and I'm going to make another $4,000 a month, and that $4,000 a month, right, is going to be 20 grand a month. Then it's going to be 40 grand a month, and I just got off on the long term, tying my daily goals to my long term goals. That's how I did it.
Something emotional, right? Like I remember we used to have this guy that worked for us. His name was Ray. Do you remember Ray?
Mm-hmm.
And he like this guy played in the NFL, right? So he knew how to work hard. That was my
Ray Lewis.
You don't get that far. What?
No.
What?
I said Ray Lewis.
No. Anyways, but he struggled with this commitment level thing that we're talking about. So I got a picture. I called his wife and I got a picture of his son. I said, take a picture of your son and tie old raggedy shoes around his neck and send it to me. And I blew up into 2 feet by 3 feet. And I wrote, Daddy, I need a new pair of shoes. And I hung it in his office. I just think people need to figure out how to adjust their commitment level. We know what to say. We know who to call. We know how to create a list. We at Summit do. I just think it's about a commitment level. What do you think, Robyn?
Robyn, how did you do it? Yeah, how did you go from 100 grand a year to a loan officer that closed almost 700 loans? Like you did something on this subject to create that.
Yeah, I mean, I think Jimmy's exactly right. I think you have to be very clear on your purpose and on your why, and keep that at the forefront of things. A good example, I was coaching with a realtor or with one of our loan officers the other day, and she was telling me, everything's just good. I'm making some calls, and okay, yeah, that's a good idea, and all these things. And finally, I said, "Are you motivated?" And she said, "What do you mean?" And she said, "It's kind of stuck with me because last call that we talked, you just said you're too comfortable. You're too comfortable." And she said, "I don't understand how to get uncomfortable." And I said, "What's your why?" Well, I said, "Do you need the money?" "Yeah, I need the money." I said, "But you're making just enough that you don't need that much, right?" Like, so I said, tell me this. What is also struggles in your life, right? Because often we can find our purpose from a problem, right? A problem will create a vision of something that we can fix. And often the tool to fix something doesn't fix everything, but money can make things a lot easier, right? You have a child with a speech impediment, you make a lot of money, you can hire an at-home tutor that will help them get through that speech impediment 10 times faster than a public school system. And so whatever that may be, like, hey, let's talk about it. And so as we're talking, she said, well, and I'll be brief, but my husband works in fishing. He's a guide. And about 45 days, Jimmy's like, that's my dream job. I'm on it. I can see it. I can see your face, Jimmy. So she says, about 45 days out of the year, in addition to all the other times, but 45 days straight, he's gone. And he's gone at 4 a.m. and he's back at 4 p.m. And when he does get home, he has to prep for the next day and he's exhausted. And we have 2 girls, and it absolutely just makes a huge struggle in our household. It takes about 60 days to get back on track. We can never go and attend anything, have a date night, go to a wedding, go do anything during that time. And I said, okay, so let's talk about that. Why does he have to do 45 days in a row? Well, he needs the money. Oh, so let's talk about what it would mean if you increased your units by 3 or 2 every single month. And this is what this created in additional earnings for you. So we have this conversation. I said, now let's talk about, could your husband then go Monday, Wednesday, Friday, maybe work 2 weekends out of that month? And would you guys miss the money? And what would that do for the entire balance of your family, the joy, the marriage, the kids, all of it? She literally almost started crying.
Wow.
She said, I've never seen it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, her husband has his job. She has her job. They're doing all right. Opposite or enemy of great is what, Jimmy?
Good.
Good? Just good, right? Life is good. But man, there wasn't that purpose, passion. I said, so imagine this. You get intentional with phone calls. Does that make you greedy? No. It makes you smart, right? You have a job where you take all the risk, 100% commission. You literally can offset and change the entire dynamic of your family with doing a couple more loans. But do you get up every day and think to myself, I'm gonna change this dynamic. My husband's gonna work 3 days a week as a result of my actions and my desire to serve people in the lending industry. And she said, nope, but I do now. I think that's the difference in attaching true purpose, a true plan.
Love that. So use a problem in your life to tie to your daily standards. What I said was tie your long-term goals to your daily standards. Jimmy, what's your answer?
Well, mine was similar to Robyn's, right? Mine was the story about how I hung the picture in Ray's office of his son, because Ray grew up Ray was a friend of mine, and we grew up in cities that were very near each other, but we didn't know each other. And the city he grew up in was a very poor city. So he grew up without new shoes, right? But he was a super gifted athlete, and he fell into the mortgage business, which we're all so lucky to be in, right? So he was making more money, even struggling, than his dad did, but he couldn't go to the next level. He couldn't find a reason to go to the next level, and that's really what I think people need to search for. You've got the tactics, we've got the tactics, right? And they can do a written plan on these things. And then you have to have mentorship, accountability, and coaching to go to the next level. Because without it, there are some, and Todd, you're probably one of them, that is so self-driven, they could go a long ways without it, but that ain't most of us, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would also say on that is to dream bigger. There was a point for all of us that said, I could make $1 million a year. I could be a multimillionaire. Anyone can feel that way. Anyone can have those emotions. That will drive your behavior. I had a workout coach, and it was at the time when I was trying to lose 40 pounds. And at one point he looked at me and he says, Todd, you work out enough. It's 80% diet. He says, I know I own the gym and I shouldn't tell you this. It's 80% diet. You just got to eat less. What I would say, bringing that to this, it's 80% how you think and feel. It's 80%. Because if I think and feel aggressively, hey, I could do 10 loans a month again, I will start searching that out. I'll start listening to podcasts. I will start getting a coach. I will naturally gravitate towards those things. But if I say, yeah, the market's just really hard and 3 enough is enough to pay the bills, I'm never going to take a different action, ever.
And if you hang out with people who say that, it's for sure you're not going to.
Yes. So when you talk about I think First of all, if we just recommit to 1, 4, and 5, which is reach out to people privately, but have non-negotiables around that. Have a written process. It can be 4 things, right? It could be
Mm-hmm.
4 things, and then uh, calling out to realtor partners and meeting with them and knowing how to do the 2-step close, knowing how to look them up on MMI, all that stuff, all those steps. Put that into a process, and then number 5, tell like I was teaching that national lunch and learn yesterday, and people were saying about half the room said, "Yeah, I get my customers from other customers." And then one question I had was, "How many have you met with in the last 2 weeks?" So you're telling me your 50% or more your business came from past clients. How
Yeah.
many? So you must be going to lunch every day with one of them. Like if you had top 30, like some of these people were very seasoned in the industry, and you've done loans for people that own businesses, they have 20 rentals, the connector type people, you would put them on a list and you would meet with them every, like, on a rotation, right? It would be a process, but they won't do it. No, not one of them said, "No, I don't. I just, they know what I do."
Yeah.
Yeah, but if they don't think of you, they can't refer you. It's our job to make them think of us. So I just sensed the disconnect immediately. I'm like, "Oh, you don't have a written process around it, so you just hope and pray that I know when the market's good, everyone's calling you. I get it. We're talking about when the market's not good, and you got to self-create your own business.
Yeah.
We got to create our own markets. Then that changes, right?" And they're like, "Well, if you're not doing any activity around it, it's people just don't wake up in bed and say, I need to call that realtor, or I need to call that loan officer. Man, they were great 3 years ago." That's
Yeah.
not how people
That's
operate.
not how it works. You have to be in front of them all the time, right? So, I mean, these are loan officers, and these 5 strategies are awesome. And so, all I can think about is what we're working on with our loan officers in Next Level Coaching and at Summit is the last 3 months of your production. So, November, December, and January, right? We're in 2023. Wow. That's who you are. That's where you are. And the storm has stopped, right? This is where it is. And so the most valuable thing I could say to anybody listening right now is do a 1-year vision and a 5-year vision and include the 3 topics that Todd just taught, the 3 sources of leads with a 5-step written plan under each one of those sources, and have a structure to who does what in your business, what you do, if you have any assistants, what they do, and write down what your results will be in 1 year. After all the effort happens and you've grown from this spot that we're at, which is reality, what's it going to look like in 1 year? Like, so that you can see a vision. Because right now, I think one of the biggest struggles is the vision is so blurry for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
And what you just did, I think, dude, is give them the tactics, and now they just got to see the vision and implement them. That's what I see.
Yeah, to your point, when you talk about visioning and stuff, we just finished the end of the year. I did a vision plan for every company I own, and I would tell you, I get a lot of credit for being a strategic thinker. It was not easy for me. I literally had to say, okay, realistically, what does it look like for each of those companies this year? What's it look like next year? Now? The truth is, 2, 3 years from now, it looks really good. This year, kind of okay. That doesn't look so great, right? So,
But it does look better in 1 year than it does today.
100%.
And it looks better in 6 months than it does today.
Yeah.
It's like people need to think about it. I honestly, dude, I'm telling you, they're thinking about how bad it is, and I'm trying to think. I'm not trying. I'm thinking about how good it's going to be.
Yeah. It's flopping it, right? A lot of life is counterintuitive. A lot of business is counterintuitive. But Robyn, if I said, "Hey, you're going to do this career for 30 years, and 22 years is going to be awesome, like really good to great, and 4 years is going to be down 10, 20%, and 4 years is going to be horrific. But you're going to end your career with 15 million bucks in the bank and, be wealthy and go live your life." Would you take that deal?
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like I'm taking that deal. Already signed up, people. Yeah, I think that when we think about the 4 things, I think you're exactly right. You know, some people are going to be able to master and build out and leverage and get all 5 done. But the truth is, if you did 2 of them, 3 of them, I mean, with each level you can master and have a plan and then it be consistent. That's when the magic happens. And I think one of the things that 2022 did to us as an industry is you know, 2020 and 2021 spoiled us, then 2022 shocked us, and people completely let go of that. You know, we get to build from ground zero. That's what I look at 2023. We are building from ground zero. And a lot of people don't have the discomfort tolerance that is necessary to rebuild. And there is a level of tolerance for having to rebuild systems, maybe take on more work as a loan officer, if you will, because of cutbacks in staff or whatever it may be, developing a better and new process and plan for things you weren't having to do. Maybe that's in-person meetings that were gone for a couple of years, you know, events, if you will. There's all different things, but people often don't have a tolerance, especially after coming off of the best years, to adapt to the difference, right? The new difference. And so what is your discomfort tolerance? Establish that in your mind, be mindful of it, and then decide what you can do, right? Because that in itself will measure how far you will go when things are great. You have to have a balance for both, right? How to balance when things are great and take all that on, and then also how to be uncomfortable. And I think a lot of people still have not quite settled into getting uncomfortable.
Yeah, it reminds me of 2 summers where I had a job bucking hay, and the hay bales are 80, 90 pounds, and I weighed probably a buck 30. And you get paid $2.50 an hour to buck hay all day, and you're literally exhausted. I'll take this. Like, I don't, the entitlement that you're alluding to is a issue. It is a issue. And I don't want to get on my soapbox, but I would tell you, me included, most people are entitled. You know, 50% of the world, get to this stat, 50% of the world lives on less than $10 a week. 50% of the world. I'm just telling you, I got a friend of mine, and she comes to America 3 years ago, and she starts a care home. Borrows money from a family member. They started it together. Long story short, 8 months later, the family member stole the business from her. She wasn't smart, didn't know how contracts worked and all that. Took all the money. Care home was making 35 grand a month. She took some money, started another care home. Now she's making 30 grand a month after all expenses. She just starting a second one, and she's starting 2 more this year. So within 4 years of being in America, she'll be making over 100 grand a month. She does. I talked to her. She does not feel entitled. I asked her the other day. This is true story. Mary was there with me, and Mary said, "What's the greatest thing you love about America?" She said, "The freedom to run a business and make money." And Mary said, "Why do you say that?" She said, "Because the country I'm from, if I did what I was doing, it can be, if I didn't know a political official, it will be taken away from me at some point." Wow. They just come in and take over your business and make the 100 grand a month.
Mafia.
Yeah. So anyway, the entitlement thing, don't get me started.
The moral of the story is care homes make more money than mortgage right now. Just kidding.
Go ahead. I'll stay here and do mortgages.
Guys, we have to wrap this one up. So here's what I'll tell you, because we didn't get into 2 and 3, which is running. A lot of people working on social media and stuff, but they don't know how to make money from it. I figured that box out, and I'm happy to share it with people. So if you want a free, what I call a masterclass about, hey, what does 2 and 3 look like? What are the results that you're seeing? So we know that starting in April, we can get each of our loan officers another 2, 3, 4 loans a month by adding 2 and 3. We got a whole project team that does it for them. There's not much they have to do, and it's not that costly. It's about $1,000 a month to get 3 or 4 deals. If you want how we do that, you can email me. and I'll send you a free masterclass and you can look at it. My email is tscrima@summitfunding.net. So tscrima@summitfunding.net. If you send me an email, it just tells me, what you're looking for, I will be able to send it, me or my assistant, and you can look at that. But it's a whole new world out there on how to get business and massive leverage from what everyone's working on, which is social media and all this stuff. I spent a year with 2 professional coaches teaching me this stuff and a whole project team. It's a little complicated, right? We've been through a lot, but we finally got like, oh my God, okay, this stuff actually works. So on 2 and 3, email me. On the other 3, it's really just you writing down your process in writing and then make it a non-negotiable, like my 190 pounds. And it's non-negotiable, and have fun doing it. Like last time I checked, calling a realtor to go have sushi was not that hard, right? It's better than bucking hay. That's my reference point, right? I go back to the hardest job I ever had, and this is not that hard, right? And we get paid a lot of money to do it. But so many people don't have the grit and tenacity to do it. That's what we're saying. So listen, guys, I hope you have a great month. Robyn, Jim, thank you guys very much. We'll talk to you on the next. If you like this episode, share it with someone. Just text it to them. We would really appreciate it, getting that word out to help our loan officer community. Bye, guys. Have a great month.
See ya.